My name is Imogen Saunders. I am the Director of the Centre for International and Public Law here at the Australian National University. And the ANU School of Law and Centre are very pleased to have you here today to celebrate Sonia's incredible achievement in writing this book and to formally launch it onto the world. I would like to acknowledge that ANU in Canberra sits on the home of Ngunnawal and Ngambri people. We pay respects to their elders, noting that Indigenous people in this area have practiced law for thousands of years, long before this school of law came into existence. So we pay respect to their elders and to their ongoing custodianship and culture in regards to this land. The Centre for International and Public Law is our premier research centre at the ANU School of Law, and we're delighted to have the opportunity to launch this book, which has such important things to say about the relationship between Australia and India, and a relationship that's very important to us here at the ANU as well. And I'd like to particularly welcome the special guest, His Excellency High Commissioner Bagley from the High Commission here in Canberra from India. So thank you very much for coming, Your Excellency. I'm going to hand over, but I just want to, on behalf of the ANU School of Law and on behalf of SIGL, to extend our welcome and thanks to you all.
Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to everybody here today. Before we start, I'd like to request Honourable High Commissioner of India, Sri Gopal Bagle, sir, to please address the gathering.
Good afternoon. As is the tradition in Australia, I would also begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land where we meet today and paying my respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and add that in that context that this is a tradition which we share, Australia and India, the respect to diversity, the respect for our fellow citizens, the respect for, in fact, the entire humanity. And we are privileged in India to have at the head of the state of India not just a woman, but also a woman who is from one of our tribal communities, which is Tribal. I'm really very delighted and very greatly honored to be here today at this very special occasion, which I think comes about rather rarely. As Aman was mentioning to me, not many students are here from India in the Center for International Law, Center for Law College, and it is very good to see a young mind and bright minds work on the aspect which sometimes we feel that should be perhaps more highlighted. So it is. Thank you very much, Dr. Sonia Kosa, for devoting your efforts to this particular endeavor, and to everyone, including your distinguished guide, who has been a friend of India since the time you were certainly not born, but I was perhaps in the infancy. And that is a story which as I was mentioning to Dr. Hale, we hear so many times. During my about 2 years of stay in Australia, I've seen and heard people speak about their experiences of India when they backpacked by trains and buses and went over the country for 2 years, for 2 months, 3 months, whatever time. And these luminaries include not just your sports persons, but some of your very, very senior political leaders, not just in the current leadership, but earlier as well. What it points out is that there has been a great appetite for cordial relations and working together between India and Australia. And today's world presents to us the best opportunity to build a very strong foundation, to build a very strong structure for economic partnership. I think there are strengths that we have as complementary strengths with our demography, with India being a young country today, third or the fourth largest economy of the world in terms of the GDP, and having the aspiration to be a developed nation by 2047, when the independent India turns 100 years. I think there is a very clear pathway we have outlined for ourselves. And most of that pathway relates to reforms. Many of those reforms in the financial sector, in regulatory framework, in laws, and in FDI, which have been undertaken in the past 10, 12 years, I think they have brought in domestically as well as internationally more partnership, more coherence, and more confidence in India. And it's great to see that now there is focus on supplementing that confidence with more conversation about regulatory frameworks in the two countries. So I must say that I mean, finance is my weak suit. To the extent, perhaps, if I may say half jokingly, when her language, her email came to me for the first time and it mentioned uh, deep strategic collaboration in the securities sector, colon, India and Australia, I for a moment thought that maybe securities in plural is written as a mistake. It was, a diplomat's training essentially, focusing on geopolitics as it is topical today, as you know. Uh, but that, as I said, is half jokingly. But certainly, it does give an indication that we focus more on security than securities.
Yeah.
Not realizing that the more we focus on securities, we will automatically be enhancing security, not just in terms of economy, but also partnership and energy. So I compliment you and everyone who has been associated with this effort. I would encourage, as the High Commission here, more such endeavors, more such collaborative efforts, which create more awareness about each other's financial systems and encourage the investors also, because given the trajectory that India and Australia relationship has, especially in the trade and economic segment, I think there should certainly be more cooperation and collaboration between our financial systems, whether banking and non-banking both. That would also supplement the commercial footprint we have in each other's country, the technological partnerships that are taking shape precisely in institutions like the ANU, which is among the global leaders in various fields. And we, as a matter of fact, have higher education and research cooperation also as one of the top priorities, alongside strategic cooperation. For example, I'll just mention to you that we have, between the two countries, a foreign ministers framework dialogue, a defense ministers dialogue, a trade ministers commission, and also a ministerial commission between education and skills ministers of the two sides. So you can see that the two governments accord the same priority to education as they accord to defense and economy segments. Why? Because we believe that economy and education, they are the building blocks of the future of our partnership. So I thank you once again for this opportunity, and my best wishes and compliments to Dr. Kosa and everyone who has been associated with this and similar endeavors. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon once again, and thank you so much to His Excellency Dr. Sri Gopal Bagleji for his address, for encouraging us and just speaking to the gathering today. I'd like to again thank everybody who is here in the room, and I'd like to start by acknowledging the Nunanwal and the Ngambri people, the traditional custodians of the lands on which we stand here today, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. This book has been many years in the making. It's shaped by research, by my professional experience, and by a countless number of conversations and dialogue that has convinced me that this topic is in a need to be explored with both depth and clarity. Before I go any further on my understanding or explaining to you why I wrote this and why this is so significant, I'd like to express my gratitude to some very important people. And I'd like to thank my PhD supervisor, Gail Pearson, who is here today, for her long-standing professional and professional and personal guidance to me through many, many years that I've been in Sydney. Without her belief and her her guidance, this would have simply been impossible. I'd also like to thank Dr. Akshay Kamalnath, who has been extremely generous and encouraging through her journey, throughout this journey. To also a warm, a gratitude towards the law school as well as the NU Press for supporting this work. And I'd also like to thank my colleagues from Sydney University, some of who are here today. Finally, I'd like to thank my friends and family who are here visiting and who are here a part of this journey. It's a very important thing for me to reflect on why I wrote this book, and quite simply because I saw a gap that really mattered. In 2024 alone, Australia's exports to India have totaled about 35 billion, while imports from India have reached about 17 billion. By the end of the year 2024, Australia's stock of investment in India was nearly 28 billion, while India's total investment into Australia was about 51 billion. And despite these deepening ties, there was almost no detailed scholarship examining the regulatory, systemic, and institutional foundations of financial trust, the very foundations that make markets stable, transparent, and credible. Both India and Australia are dynamic, evolving markets that are navigating digitization, globalization, and increasing regulatory complexity. Yet, despite these shared goals of market integrity, innovation, stability, cooperation in the financial and securities markets has remained largely episodic. Before entering academia, I spent over a decade as a securities markets regulator in India with SEBI, while working across legal policy, enforcement, and international affairs. Representing India and SEBI at global forums like the IOSCO and the US Financial Dialogues, I saw firsthand both the promise and the limitations of current cooperation frameworks. This book grew from a conviction that it's time to move beyond these episodic engagements to structured, strategic cooperation that is forward-looking, evidence-based, and anchored in mutual respect. So with that, I just want to speak a little bit about who this book is for. At its core, it's a detailed comparative academic study for the financial and securities markets of Australia and India. My hope is that it sets the stage for more comparative work, more comparative research, encouraging dialogue among policymakers, regulators, scholars who wish to strengthen the Indo-Pacific region through research-driven understanding. The book argues that a deeper bilateral partnership between an advanced and mature market like Australia and a rapidly developing one like India can generate long-term value in three core areas: development, market integration, and market regulation. So in terms of development, the first focus is how mutual learning and capacity building can strengthen domestic markets and investor confidence. In terms of integration, how structured cross-border initiatives can improve transparency and efficiency, helping both economies to attract global capital. And in terms of regulation, how joint mechanisms and shared standards can enhance financial resilience and systemic stability across the Indo-Pacific region. So that brings me finally to what do I hope to achieve with this work. Beyond its policy arguments, this book fulfills a major gap in scholarship, which is it provides a first detailed comparative analysis of India's and Australia's financial and securities systems, setting a precedent for future comparative research in this important area. It also seeks to translate cooperation from theory to practice, to show how collaboration can move from memoranda to mechanisms and from shared intent to measurable implementation. My hope is that the book serves both as a reference and a bridge. A reference for how structured collaboration in securities regulation can be framed, and a bridge connecting institutions, ideas, and people across India, Australia, and beyond. If it sparks even a few new conversations between regulators shaping a joint framework, between academics co developing a partnership, or a student reimagining the financial governance in the Indo Pacific region, I'll consider it as a meaningful contribution. Because ultimately, deeper strategic collaboration is not just about compliance, it's about a shared purpose, shared trust, and the courage to think long term. Deeper strategic collaboration in the securities sector, India and Australia, is in many ways my way of saying that collaboration can be transformative when grounded in clarity, trust, and a commitment to collective progress. Thank you, and I hope this book inspires many more conversations about what deep strategic collaboration can truly achieve for India, Australia, and the Indo Pacific region.
Okay, excellent. So we'll do a quick panel discussion. I might, because we have a little time, but I think 4 speakers, I might throw it to each person for quick 5-minute comments, if that's okay. I can see Mr. Arjun Prasad on the screen. Can we start with you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. Yes. So do you want us to give any comments now, or probably we'll go around for introductions?
Or we can straight away, maybe if you can introduce yourself and go for comments, that's great in the interest of time. Thank you.
Yeah. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate Ms. Sonia on this monumental effort. The amount of effort that she has actually put rivals what a lot of regulators also put to draft the rules and regulations. One of the things that has happened recently, particularly the last 10 years, is a lot of interaction between regulators around the world. Particularly, if you're going to talk about securities markets, after repeated ISO meetings, we have come to know about what each regulator does in its jurisdiction, which has helped us to sort of try to bring those things to our jurisdiction wherever and sort of modify. Similarly, the learnings have also been given by each of us, in respective jurisdictions. So while Arjun introduced me that I was working in SEBI earlier, now I am with IFSC. So I can see the differences between these two jurisdictions itself when it comes to how to handle different aspects of the capital markets. And more so when we look at international jurisdictions, where there are going to be cross-border transactions, because there is also something which Sonia had highlighted. So wherever you have cross-border transactions, and we also have where you're going to sort of give and take information, it has actually served to protect us and help us also. Recently, the IOSCO has also come with some interesting things like the iScan, which helps you to sort of look at, like, for example, in case I need comments, for example, today, I need, because the world economy has become so integrated, the person who's transacting in Dubai is also transacting in India, is also transacting in Melbourne, right? So then we need to ensure that if suppose there is something against someone, or probably look at a blacklist, so you need to have a common database. So that is one innovation which IOSCO actually recently did. So similarly, when we go, you look at very interesting new concepts like tokenization as to how people, digital assets, so how people do it. So I believe the world economy and world regulation has become increasingly integrated in the good way. And I'm sure the comparisons which has been done in this book in particular of the best practices and also how each of the jurisdictions stand when it comes to each of those 38 principles of IOSCO is something very laudable. Interestingly, the IFSC was also ranked on 2 principles recently in IOSCO report. 6 and 7, I think we were ranked, and I think we also rated on other principles. So this is something which is quite laudable and our best wishes.
Right. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate Sonia on this book, which is very comprehensive and it covers all the 38 principles. So I am here with IFSC for five years, and prior to this I was with SEBI much effort has gone into analyzing all the 38 principles which cover all aspects. So I think Sonia touched upon three aspects which are very important and very relevant to IFSC. So that is development of the markets and cross-border markets. The second is market integration, which is where we as an international center play an important role in connecting with other markets. And the third is market regulation. So we as a regulator, how do we regulate the market? So coming to our objective, IFSC is a financial center which is the gateway for connecting India to the world. So when we mean gateway, it means both inbound and outbound. So maybe I'll touch upon some of the important initiatives in the capital market side. So we have two stock exchanges here. So both are subsidiaries of NSE and BSE. And these are international exchanges, India International Exchange and NSE International Exchange. And they trade only in foreign currency, while dollar is the most traded currency here. There are 15 other currencies where transactions can happen, including Australian dollar. And here, right now, we have a very liquid market on the derivative side. It's mainly Nifty futures by NSE, and Sensex futures has recently been launched by India NS, subsidiary BSE. So Nifty is having a connect with Singapore. And because of this connect with Nifty, there are huge volumes on the market, and people from across the world they trade here. In fact, to attract more liquidity, what we have done is we have permitted remote trading participants, which means a broker which is present in say Australia and registered with Australian Securities Exchange, Stock Exchange, they can also participate here without the need to have a physical presence, but they can do only on the prop book. So those kind of enablers we have done on the derivative side, and we have a very good debt market. We have more than 170 issuances, more than $65 billion listed here. And this year we had seen the listing by a foreign issuer as well. The Sri Lankan bank has done a listing. We are working on equity listing, and the first DRHP has been filed for the equity listing here. So in terms of other area which is more like connecting India with the world, the fund management has been quite active here. So in the last 3 years, our regulations came in 2022, and we have seen many VC fund, E fund, debt fund. So the hedge funds they have set up here in Cape City. So these funds are pulling money from foreign investors and investing into India, which is like inbound. And there may be funds which are outbound, basically getting money from retail Indians or other professional investors and investing into overseas market. So largely, since India is growing very, very fast, we are seeing strong interest from foreign investors, and we are seeing most of them being inbound funds where we can have more and more interest which is going. So as of now, in 3 years, we have crossed more than 300 funds, and we see strong investor interest from the foreign investor side. So we have done some initiatives on ease of doing business, and we think that is extremely important when it comes to foreign investors. So there is no requirement of some of those requirements like PAN, ITR filing. So those requirements are not there here. And we have recently issued our guidelines for video KYC for NRIs. So that is extremely important that you have an easy onboarding process. When it comes to outbound, there is another recent reform which we have done. This is on the global market access, where Indians, NRIs, and other foreign investors they can use GIFT City or IFSC as a platform for investing into global markets. For example, Indians they want to invest on Australian exchange, so they can use the broker which is set up here. There can be a tie-up or arrangement between brokers in whether they GIFT City with the broker in Australian exchange, and they can access Australian market. So basically, there are various ways where GIFT City can play an important role in connecting India and Australia in the securities market space, and our regulations are benchmarked with ISO principles, which is the main core subject of the book which Sonia has written. So I will briefly touch upon some of the areas where already we are seeing some engagements between Australia and India. So we have come out with the regulatory norms for setting up a foreign university, and I think most of you will be aware the first two universities are from Australia. So Deakin University has set up here, Wollongong University has set up here. So that is where Australian University has set up here, offering courses which are on par with Australia, but at a lower cost to Indians here in Cape City. We have regime for regulating banks also because we are a unified regulator. And ENC Bank has set up here, so they are doing activities here. And I'm sure there are many funds where they may be getting investments coming from Australia, whether it is NRI or large institutional investors. In fact, IFSC has recently signed an MOU with ASIC, and we work closely with the Australian regulator, both bilaterally and on ISO front. We are a member of ISO, associate member. We have signed ISO MOU. We have signed ISO enhanced MOU, which was introduced after the global financial crisis. And we also engage bilateral basis on a regular basis. So maybe I'll stop here, and I would like to once again congratulate Sonia on this important reform, which is very, very close to our objective. Thank you.
Thanks very much to both our speakers from the IFSC. Those were interesting points. I might pass now to our speakers from SEBI. How about I start with Mr. Sunil Kadam?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. First of all, let me thank Dr. Sonia for completing her PhD and also writing such a wonderful book. Thinking about staying in Australia and thinking about India is a great thing to do it, and we really appreciate that. So, if you look at the India-Australia collaboration from the beginning, so India had a first interaction with Australia in terms of surveillance mechanism. Because what has happened is that the technology was growing in India, and we were introducing not only products, not only services, and in between we had a great market for information 2004 something. So there we felt that there is a need to have a good surveillance system, and that at time we had such the surveillance system across the globe, and one of the best surveillance systems which we found in Australia, that is a smart system, was the best surveillance system we adopted at that point of time. And that was the beginning of our relationship with the security market as such. But going forward, we as a regulator also kind of use the technology because technology kept on improving and we also kept on utilizing technology. Today we have one of the best services surveillance system actually you can say across the market because we have a multiple product on market slightly different, kindly retail participation is much higher than any other country and number of transactions that we have much higher. Keeping that in mind, our surveillance systems are one of the best surveillance systems in terms of capacity, in terms of alert generation, in terms of monitoring. That's one area which we feel that we now it's time for others also to learn something from India as such. And there are many other things which we are doing, and more particularly for the industrial protection act. Because we feel that their involvement, participation, security market is necessary. And from that perspective, recently we have done one more important development, like the valid check, where we have facilitated that the every market intermediary which is dealing in security market should have a valid account, and every investor should have a facility to check whether that account is valid or not, and then only we can transfer his fund, make transactions there. So India has a great concern with regard to manipulation, cyber fraud, because the usage of technology, social media is very high in India, and there is a large kind of misuse of that technology, social platform, that people misuse mislead people. So to make awareness about that, it's one of the major activities which we have the last few months, and we also saw one of the major campaigns which we did recently to create awareness on that. So there are a lot many things which we do using the technology for protection of the industry, which could be learning for many other countries also. But as far as development of market is concerned, like Arjun has spoken about bond market going in IFSCA, but in general, overall in India, as the bond market still is not in a good stage. That is one one area which we would like to learn from other regulators also as to how they have developed their own work market and what we can learn from those areas and improve. Another area which we feel that we need to learn from other area is the commodities market. That is growing in India, but still we need to see how best practices develop, especially in Australia now, how they are doing developing their market, how people are participating in that market. That's one area which we would like to have some collaboration on those areas so that we can learn more and grow, develop our market. Besides that, the market is a vast area. There is always scope for learning from each other and best practices sharing is one of the areas which we should continuously do here in after or we are doing to some extent, but we can increase that collaboration to a large extent. And finally, Sonia also spoke about the educational collaboration. So on the educational collaboration, we as a SEBI, as a one specialized institution, National Institute of Securities Markets, which is created specifically for capacity building across the capital market in India. And we have now recently decided to open a special research center at NISM so that lot many research can be conducted in securities market where probably we could do lot of collaboration with Australia and Germany. In fact, we could also think about introducing some joint certification or long-term courses which could be good for the capacity building for Indian capital market. And those are the areas that we can develop work together and do research. Obviously, there is lot of scope for doing research in partnership, and we could do lot of research. We have good academicians which have a good academic mind. We have good understanding of the market. So that way, we can do lot of research which could be helpful not only for both the countries but entire the market as such. And we can work together in many areas. So, my colleague Prabhas is not joining because he's not keeping well. Suddenly he has a high fever, so he is not joining. But I once again congratulate Dr. Sonia for the wonderful contribution, wonderful book. And certainly we will look forward to work together on many areas and many collaborative areas. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Kadam. It was great to hear from both speakers from IFSC and SEBI. I might, as a corporate law researcher, I might add my 2 cents and say that in the last few days, I've been looking at influencers and seen a bunch of collaboration across securities regulators in in the sorts of issues you were talking about, like blacklisting, investor education, and all of that. But we have more attendees on Zoom, and I wonder if anyone wanted to add to the discussion in terms of comments, or if you had any questions for Sonia or the speakers, that would be great. Maybe I'll pass it to Gail if you want to add your comments and then officially close the program so that we can move on to just informally mingling.
First of all, a big thanks to ANU Press for publishing Sonia's book. Without Sonia's scholarship, there would be no book. And I have to say, Sonia was a great privilege to supervise as a supervisor. She was an excellent student. And although we had robust arguments from time to time, she produced a wonderful PhD and book. What I would like to say is that picking up on some of the comments made here, I noticed that what people are particularly interested in, and I may not have picked up on everything, are the currency markets, the bond market and the commodities market. So if there are any nascent researchers out there, that's the place to go. Pick up Sonia's torch and go for it. I also noticed the mention of NISM, which is a wonderful institution I've visited, and they do have excellent researchers there. I also want to pick up on something that the High Commissioner said, which was about the surprising and diverse range of people who have contacts and have spent time in India. I would like to comment on the reverse. I am always amazed at the range of people who have family in Australia, from tycoons, senior judges, senior bureaucrats, erstwhile aristocrats, and drivers. I've come across all of these people who say, oh, I've got a cousin in so-and-so. Oh, not to mention academics, lots of academics, Indian academics with families in Australia. I have a cousin in so-and-so. So, but this, what we call people-to-people contact, is really just a foundation, but it's insufficient. What the High Commissioner mentioned Andrew Charlton's excellent book about Australia-India relations, and particularly his emphasis on financial markets. And he makes, I don't think the High Commissioner mentioned this, but Andrew Charlton makes a very important point in that book, which is that India has a great need for capital now. There's a tremendous opportunity for Australia. I think he was talking about this in the context of superannuation funds. But that opportunity for Australia is likely to be a limited window of opportunity. So again, Australians who are listening to this, who wish to invest in India, go for it now. I think that's probably all that I really wish to say, apart from thanking Akshaya, who has really helped facilitate all of this, and the ANU Law School. Again, I wish to congratulate Sonia on her achievement, and I don't wish to stand between you and afternoon tea. So let's call the proceedings to an end, if that's what we're doing. Thank you so much, everybody there in India, for participating in this. I'm sorry you can't join us for the cake.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Can I just quickly also add that I'm deeply grateful both to the IFSCA and to SEBI for their participation in today's book launch. More than anything, it just signals interest in developing this area forward. And that is to also add that it was a very tough timeline for us to plan this, and the Department of Foreign Trade and Affairs and ASIC would not able to join because they had other commitments, but they're deeply interested in the insights from today. And I will be having a few more after this conversation, just hearing Arjun, Pradeep and Sunil sir speaking to everybody here makes me realize that there's not just an academic and theoretical value of this research, but there might be something that we can take forward in practical terms. So thank you so much for your comments today, everybody. Thank you.